City Council. It's January 6th at 7 p.m. This is our first meeting of the new year, and I'd like to welcome those in the audience tonight who are joining us, and also welcome back our newly re-elected council members and some newly elected ones. So welcome here tonight. Our first item of business is to establish the quorum. We do have 6 of our 7 council members present tonight. Next item of business is appointing the clerk of council. We would need a motion to do that. Councilmember Grace.
Yes, thank you, President Isley. I move that we appoint Debbie Walker as our clerk of council.
Okay. Do we have a second for that, please?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and second for approval of Deborah Walker as our clerk of council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. Next 2 motions. One is for the selection of the President Pro Tem, and that would be for Chris Fall, and I believe Councilmember Reisner. You have a motion.
Make a motion that we appoint Member Chris Fall, President Pro Tem. She's not here to object.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second for selection of Chris Fall as President Pro Tem. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, thank you. Next is the selection of the acting pro tem, and I believe Councilmember Katsas.
Yes, President Isley, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Member Dreisner as acting pro tem.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second for selection of Councilmember Reisner as acting pro tem. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, you've been selected. Thank you. We next have need a motion for designation of Lisa Eliason, our law director, as the parliamentarian.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. So we have a motion and second for Lisa Eliason to serve as our parliamentarian. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. We'll now have a motion for disposition of minutes held on the regular sessions of December 2nd, 9th, and 16th. If I could have a motion for the approval of those minutes?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and second for the approval of the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I believe we have 2 abstentions.
Yes.
Council members Smedley and Claude Felter, as they weren't here for those sessions of council. We now have communications. I have one item that I have learned of, that there will be a public meeting for the farmers market on January 16th, and that's going to be at the community center from 6 to 8 p.m., and they're inviting the public to come. So that's 6 to 8 on January 16th. There is a snow date of January 23rd. And Councilmember Reisner and then Councilmember Crowell.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I received a communication, I think others probably did also, from our city engineer, Robert Headley. Columbia Gas is doing installation work on Mulligan Road. It'll be for the next month, I believe, and it takes place between Hickory and Curtis Street. It'll be 1-lane traffic only. They're going to do their best to maintain it, but it's going to be slow going, and they're recommending people find an alternative route during business hours. So
Thank you.
beware, folks. They're working on the gas lines.
And Councilmember Crowell. Thank you. Councilmember.
Thank you, President Isley. I have a communication from the Environment and Sustainability Commission. A member of the commission, Jessica Dalzell, prepared a report on plastic bag use in the city of Athens in response to Resolution R-1216, which declared plastic bag use an environmental concern and tasked the commission with providing data on both single-use plastic bags as well as reusable bags. And Ms. Dalzell's report will be provided to council, including her recommended methods to decrease single bag usage based on her research in the city of Athens. At the same time, I would like to note that the next Environment and Sustainability Commission meeting will be this Wednesday night, January 8th at 6 p.m. In the first floor conference room of the city building. Thank you.
Councilmember Katsas.
Yes, President Nisley, thank you. It's new year, new month. The Athens City School District, their next board meeting will be on January 13th at 6:30 p.m. in the Athens High School auditorium.
Thank you. Any other communications from council members? Okay. And Law Director Eliason, communications?
No communications, just a report.
The report, okay. And we will, yes, the report would be fine.
Are you ready for that?
Sure. You can go ahead.
So, good evening. As you know, I'm Lisa Elias, and I'm the Law Director for the City of Athens. And the Ohio Revised Code mandates that once a year, the first meeting of the year, that I give a report of the business of the Law Director's office during the previous year. So that would be 2019. And I've provided, I think, most everyone in here with a copy of my report for this year. The duties of the law director are mandated in the Ohio Revised Code and also in the Athens City Code. I'm responsible for overseeing the law department, and that law department consists of 3 full-time city prosecutors. We had 2, but I'm pleased to announce that we've hired a 3rd person, and when that 3rd person starts, I will announce it at a council meeting. So the office has 3 full-time city prosecutors that prosecute misdemeanors that occur in the city of Athens and in the unincorporated areas of the county. We have 2 full-time secretarial staff. On the first page, I did state that in 2019 there were 7,789 criminal and traffic cases and OVI cases in the Athens County Municipal Court. The year before, there had been 8,694, so the case number is down slightly. Of those, approximately 3/4 of those either pleaded arraignment, go into diversion, or something else may happen to the case. We do approximately 1/4 of those cases. In fact, in 2019, about 700 defendants entered diversion. Our office, City Prosecutor's Office, prosecutes cases for the City of Athens, the Athens County Sheriff, the Ohio University Police Department, Department of Public Safety, Dog Warden, Ohio Department of Natural Resources. We've been called upon to prosecute cases for the Ohio Department of Agriculture and any other agency, taxation, that would come to us with misdemeanor cases. Our office prosecutes misdemeanor cases, and those are the cases in municipal court. I also provide legal advice to city officials and represent the city in legal proceedings, approve contracts and bonds involving the city. And I keep council apprised of litigation. And it's at this first meeting in January that I give you the overview of what we did the previous year. I serve by appointment of the mayor on the negotiating team and serve in that capacity and have served in that capacity for several years. To give you an idea of our budget, it's $609,828. And of that, we receive $49,303 from the Athens County Commissioners. While we're mandated to prosecute those misdemeanor cases that occur in the unincorporated areas of the county. And to give you an example, what that would be is, for instance, if a case occurred in the Plains or on Route 33 outside of Athens, unincorporated areas, not an incorporated area like Trimble or Gloucester or Nelsonville. But we're mandated to do that, to prosecute those cases, and then we receive whatever compensation the commissioners give to us. There's no formula. So on page 2, I've given you an idea of what the city prosecutors do. Ultimately, it's my responsibility for the prosecutions, and the city prosecutors work very closely with me. We discuss the cases, even though we have a lot of cases, but prosecutors come to me and we discuss a resolution of a case. The last page of this report, I called it Appendix A, and it just gives you an idea of the cases that we did prosecute, the kinds of cases. There are cases that we prosecute where defendants do not have representation, and then we prosecute cases where they do have representation. And our cases range anywhere from a minor misdemeanor traffic offense to operating under the influence and vehicular manslaughter. So we do quite a few cases. So in addition to the law director supervising the prosecutors, some of my other duties include, and I also serve as counsel for the Athens City School District, which is at no additional compensation, but that's by the revised code. I don't do a lot of work for them because it's so specialized and they hire outside counsel. However, in some of the minor matters, such as something like appearing before the Board of Revisions, filing a counter complaint to a complaint for reevaluation, I would appear. I also appear or do the work for them when they apply for tax exempt status. So some of the general services that the law director provides, obviously I administer the office, supervise the prosecutors. I already stated that I meet with the prosecutors to discuss cases. I write formal legal opinions if requested. I attend the council meetings, special sessions, serve as the parliamentarian. I go into executive session with council. I've provided training on sunshine law and ethics. I review ordinances before council. Those come to us before, hopefully on Wednesday of the week before. But I work very closely with Debbie Walker, and we review all the ordinances to make sure that they're correct. I obviously administer the oath of office. I review contracts and bonds, draft leases. I attend meetings and conferences with other elected officials and department heads. I compile public records requests. I meet with various boards and commissions to provide training. And as I previously said, I serve on the collective bargaining team. So, as I previously stated, I also am responsible for the civil litigation that the city is involved in. And on page 4 of the report, there was one case pending at the beginning of 2019, 5 new cases filed in 2019, 2 of which were cases that we filed, which were appropriations cases, which were subsequently consolidated with one pending case. And we completed 2 cases in 2019, and at the end we had 2 cases pending at the end of 2019. So that's where we are. I'd be glad to take any questions that council may have. I think I've provided this to members of the audience, and if there are any questions, I'm glad to answer those.
Councilmember Crowell.
Director Eliason, thank you for your work. You note on page 3 that 26 letters were written on behalf of code enforcement.
Yes.
What are those types of letters? And
Those letters would be, if there's been a failure to comply with an order to comply, then a letter would go out from our office.
so this is following up really on, the code enforcement has already contacted a property owner maybe? And this is
already served someone with an order to comply. Then they bring it to our office and say, can you send a letter saying that there's been an order to comply, and if you don't do the work, then criminal charges could be filed.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? The appendix that you have attached to the report is quite an exhaustive list of all the different types of cases for which you've prosecuted. So it's quite there must be 40 or 50 different kinds of...
There are. I just thought it was interesting. Our Secretary Joyce Apperson worked on this during the year because we did want to see just what we were doing. And you can see we did 323 cases of operating a motor vehicle under the influence. I think our hardest are vehicular manslaughter. That's where someone commits a minor misdemeanor traffic offense and someone dies, then it becomes a second-degree misdemeanor. It didn't used to always be that way, but those are the hardest to prosecute. Not the hardest to do, but the hardest emotionally for our office to do. So,
Well, thank you for the report, because it gives us a better idea of all the things you're involved with. You're with us here, you know, at all of our business meetings, and always a help to us when we're moving legislation forward and providing advice, so. This
right,
gives
there's
the
so much more that our
bigger-
office
The bigger
does.
picture, yes, so thank you.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Law Director Eliason? Okay, thanks. Auditor Hecht, yes.
I'm not giving a report, so I just wanted to say congratulations and welcome to everyone on council. I look forward to working with everyone this year, in particular the Finance and Personnel Committee members. And I want to encourage everyone to reach out to me if you have any questions about anything. You'd be amazed at the amount of information that is in my office, and anytime you want, there are, of course, no dumb questions, that kind of thing. Our financial tracking is different than what many of us are used to, and also, I've been in the auditor's office for 16 years, and I was on council for 2 years before that. So I understand what it's like to be on council and all the various information that you have. At least I'm really just dealing with the financial aspect now. But I'm happy to answer any kind of questions or provide any kind of paperwork that you have and questions about. And so I encourage you to do that. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thanks. Mayor Patterson.
I just have a few items for council to kind of piggyback on what Councilmember Reisner was talking about with Columbia Gas. Columbia Gas is also going to be doing work on Fort Street from Congress on up to, I believe it's 44 Fort Street. Traffic will be detoured around that area when that work is going on, because that unfortunately will have to be a project where there will be cutting into the street itself as opposed to boring to put the new gas line in, unlike that was up on Greenbrier. Cable Lane will also be closed. It was closed today. There's limited traffic flow through their emergency vehicles and local traffic only. That is from Woodside on up to 39 Cable Lane. Again, that's for berm work in that area where we've been doing a lot of improvements to with road surface as well as drainage in that area. A reminder to council and to everyone who's viewing tonight that March 1st, I'm getting way ahead of this once again, but March 1st is when the Richland Avenue pedestrian passageway construction will begin in building a bridge and a passageway on the Richland Avenue between West Green and Baker Center, Porter Hall, Grover Center. And that project is slated, it'll be released on the 2nd, the 2nd is Monday, so the 2nd of March, and that will run through September 11th of 2020. So keep that in mind. There will be significant detouring around through the city, at least in the uptown area. You will be detoured onto Schaefer. If you're heading north on Richland and you're heading uptown, you'll be detoured onto Schaefer, Schaefer onto West Union, and then West Union on up to Court Street to proceed through the uptown area. Or, I've mentioned this before, do what I'm going to do and go all the way down to Stimson Avenue and jump on if you're coming from the south side and enter into the city that way. That way you don't have to worry about it. A couple personnel updates for council. Again, I thank council for authorizing this before you went on recess in 2019, and that is that we offered the position of Deputy Service Safety Director to Andrew Chickey. Andrew Chickey has accepted, so Andrew Chickey is the new Deputy Service Safety Director for the City of Athens. And Colton James has accepted the position of Master Landscaper for the city, which is great. I see immense potential in Colton James as our arborist, but also as a master landscaper. So when you see both of them, please welcome them to their new positions. And one last update, again, as we're finishing up and working through things, Service Safety Director, through his responsibilities with the Ohio National Guard as the commander for the 16th Engineering Brigade, basically overseeing all engineering units for the state of Ohio, will be deploying this year and working as the Service Safety Director, interim Service Safety Director, will be Chief Tom Pyle. Will be serving in that capacity while Andy is away. Has me a little bit nervous, to be quite honest, given everything that's going on internationally right now. But Andy is a fine Service Safety Director and a fine officer, so I'm sure he will do just fine. So we'll be missing Andy for a little more than a year that he will be deployed over in the Middle East. That's all I have to share.
Okay, thank you. Lots of news. All right. We have announcements and other business. The first one being motion to accept the November 2019 credit card transactions.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and second for the approval of those, or the acceptance of them. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we have one abstention with Councilmember Clodfelter. Okay. And then the next one is the approval of the reappointment of Brendan Thompson.
Yes.
And Councilmember Grace.
Thank you, President Isley. We are very fortunate here in the city to have numerous commissions and wonderful volunteers. So tonight I am pleased to recommend or offer a motion that we reappoint Brandon Thompson to serve on the Recreation Advisory Board. He has agreed to serve another term, and we appreciate his willingness to do so.
So we have a motion for his reappointment to the Arts, Parks, and Recreation Advisory Board. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay. Thanks, Mr. Thompson, for that work. Are there any other announcements that council members have? If not, then we always have an opportunity for citizens to speak on legislative items and city services not covered on the agenda. Is there anybody in the audience wishing to speak tonight? You would have 3 minutes. Okay. All right. Yes.
Committees to meet next week?
We likely will. I know likely finance and personnel. Is that true? And do we have
Correct.
transportation?
Transportation, yes.
Okay. And we have service safety
as well.
Okay, so we'll have a full slate. Okay. It'll be a busy night. All right. So before and I'll ask one more time if anybody wants to speak for the 3 minutes. If not, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll assume nobody's opposed. We're adjourning at 7:23 p.m. Thank you very much.